every nation, we talked about nationalism, has a grand narrative. And a grand narrative is historically rooted. It goes back century, 2 centuries. So every nation, if you see the Indians now, the Indian Hindu community, they began their grand narrative at the end of the 19th century. And by the early 20th century, they had Savarkar and Golwalkar, these are their two ideologues, actually talking about an India which would be Hindu, a Hindutva. This is their grand narrative. A land where there would be only Hindus, and the Muslims and the Christians, who they see as invaders and very often use very negative terms for them, they would be removed. Now, are they going to kill them all or exterminate them? I don't know, but there's a lot of violence in the air and a lot of violence happening. Now, to counter that, we had the Muslim grand narrative. And here you have this line coming from Sir Sayyid, Allama Iqbal, Quaid-e-Azam, and that ended in the creation of Pakistan. So Pakistan was not just a political creation, a political moment in history. It was the culmination of a grand narrative of the Muslims of South Asia. And we must not underestimate this, Ahmed, because Pakistan created an idea of a Muslim homeland, a free land, a homeland not just for Muslims. Whoever lived there would be there as a free citizen of the state, as Quaid-e-Azam promised. Now, that is what I think the leaders of Pakistan today have betrayed, because that sense of hope in this idea of Pakistan. When I did my BBC project, Living Islam, they took me all over the world. And there again, whether I went to Morocco or to Uzbekistan, people knew about Quaid-e-Azam, they knew about Iqbal, they knew about Pakistan. They had so many hopes in Pakistan. Really, they really felt that, you've got to succeed. They would say, you've got to succeed. So again, these figures that you're talking about in this rather gloomy scenario that we're discussing affects much more than just Pakistan. And this grand narrative must be kept alive. It isn't saying that I'm right, you're wrong, but it's saying this is who we are. And this is who we are is based in history. And that includes all the people of Pakistan, whether they're Baloch or Sindhi or Hindu or Muslim, they're part of this grand narrative. I think what the Indian grand narrative has done, it's become too exclusive. It's moving out the Muslims and British, and they can't because they are part of Indian history. So it's a very artificial kind of development of this grand narrative, which will land them in trouble because already there's a lot of tension within India.
But speaking of grand narrative, we do understand we've grown up studying the two-nation theory and the ideology that it entails. And then speaking of the free land, the right of every citizen, regardless of religion, to practice what they want to and to live as they deem right, we've never really seen that ever implemented or employed, even since the creation of Pakistan. So do you think that it is any more applicable as it was back then? Because theory is one thing, but then putting into practice. But rather what we've seen is that it's not just about Muslims or non-Muslims or the Muslim ideology. There's a class that has hijacked majority of the resources in Pakistan and majority of the decision-making powers as well. And the oppression is no longer limited, and it's no more a clash of Muslim, non-Muslim, but rather it transcends into your social standing, it transcends into your ethnicity, it transcends into, like you said, which part of Pakistan do you really belong to? So the discrepancies are no longer ones that were captured by the grand narrative, as you said, that was initially instilled to counter I'm assuming the Hindutva ideology. But now the issues that Pakistan is facing and the problems when you speak to a common man, if you're out on the ground, his issues are less related to, again, the ideology and the formation of Pakistan, but now he's striving and skirmishing for basic necessities, so it's basic rights. And
Ahmed, you're absolutely right. You see, look at it this way: a nation must have a glue. Something must hold it together. First point was the center and the periphery. So that is causing a lot of problems right now and may cause more problems later. Second is the grand narrative. You don't have an idea of what is holding you together. So today I talk to Pakistanis from different parts of Pakistan. You'll see a resurgence of local ethnic nationalism, which is fine because you must have a sense of pride in your own culture. And yet that is again creating tension and friction. Where is that going to land you in? And with a fragile structure like the Pakistan state, it's going to create major problems in the future. So unless these issues are resolved, I'm only as a scholar pointing out the problems. The solution must come from the leaders of Pakistan. But the leaders of Pakistan, frankly speaking, Ahmed, I don't think they have such a casual attitude to education. I'll give you an example. Once one of my books was being launched in Islamabad, and there was all these VIPs, the British ambassador and American ambassador on the panel. And the minister in Pakistan, who had been asked to be the chief guest, he arrived half an hour late. He came to the panel and then he said very charmingly, he's a very charming man, and he said, you know, I haven't had time to read the book. And he just stood up there. And I was so appalled. I said, here he is with all these foreigners, and he's admitting that he's going to now waffle on something which he hasn't read. He has no idea. That summed up Pakistan, that a minister did not have time to read a book which he was now representing and speaking about. So I would really want these people to read a little bit, think a little bit, talk a little bit. I listen to a lot of these chat shows in India today because they spend a lot of time commenting on Pakistan, a lot of their time, and very negatively. And they're reading books, they're quoting books, they're writing about Pakistan. There's a new book on the Pashtun issue, on Pakhtunistan, etc., etc. And I ask myself, where is the counter? Where are you guys then countering this intellectually, in a scholarly way? And I know that you and Raza Rumi and the team have been very, very active. But this needs to be multiplied so that we have again, and this feeds into the idea of Pakistan. I'm not talking about ideology. I'm talking about the grand narrative. Without something connecting you philosophically and with the center and the periphery, structurally, you will be a weaker nation.